All right, joining us again on the show is none other than a true legend in professional wrestling. Mr. Valentine joined us on episode 42. Today we're going to catch up with him to find out a little more about the Citi Field show this Sunday, June 7th. A true legend in the world of professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Greg Valentine. Mr. Valentine, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. I'm doing very good. Thank you very much.
Now, we've been doing some snooping around, but we haven't found out what your role will be at the event. Can you let us know what you'll be doing live at Citi Field? Are you just going out to meet and greet the fans, or are you going to have a match too?
Oh, no, I'm not wrestling. I told them I'd wrestle, but they really didn't have any legends wrestling. So I'm walking a young protege of mine out, Andrew Anderson. I will be at ringside with him, and I'll be out to like sort of a manager slash whatever personality.
Sure.
Legend. I'll be waving at people. I'm doing a lot of
and bringing down
autograph sessions there and stuff. You know, yeah.
Sure, and I'm bringing down the hammer in case anybody gets out of line, right?
Well, exactly. I'm kind of, I'll be out there. Of course, if I can get in the ring and do something, I'd love to do it.
All right.
Because I still wrestle. I don't care. Age doesn't stop me. I could still do it because I still work out and say my prayers and eat my vitamins. Wait a minute, that sounds like all COVID. Oh God.
Now this is going to be an outdoor event, and you've competed in a lot of outdoor events in your time. What are some of the major differences of competing in an indoor arena versus an outdoor arena?
Well, I always like indoor arenas better. It's the air conditioner works and stuff like that. Indoors, when I hear it was an outdoor, I go, oh God, because it's hard to play to like in Citi Field if they just got the one part there full of people. You got to play to that part of the arena or stadium, and if you will. So you got to play to that part of it. So it's different. When you're in an arena, it's all around you. Maybe Citi Field will fix it while it's around you. Mm-hmm. That's the better way to go.
Sure.
But we've done a lot of outdoor things, and a lot of times some of these cities wanted us out there in the baseball stadium and stuff. So we do it.
Sure. Now, so of the legends at the event, there'll be Bill Goldberg, Bret Hart, the Nasty Boys, Ric Flair, Mr. Anderson, including yourself and many more. Who are you looking forward to catching up with during the event that maybe you probably haven't seen in a while?
Well, I see these guys. I mean, there's a lot of legend events that go on, and I see some of the guys. I saw Goldberg not too long ago, but I haven't seen Flair for a while. Of course, me and Flair have a lot of history. I think the Steiners are going to be there, if I'm right. They're going to be there.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing them. It's kind of like, these guys, it's kind of like your fraternity brothers. You haven't seen them since you got out of college, and you go back, and there they are, and so it's kind of like that,
Nice, yeah.
Now, speaking of Ric Flair, both you and him have used the figure four leg lock. So who do you think has the best figure four in the business?
Well, you know what? That's hard to say. I put my figure four on Ric Flair one time up in a Royal Rumble in Albany, New York, when he first came into WWF. And, I don't think he's ever put one on me. We started using that figure four around the same time. He was in the Mid-Atlantic and St. Louis NWA area. I was in the WWF. So of course, I'm always going to brag about myself. So I'll say mine's the best.
All right, that's what we wanted to hear.
Now, Greg, you're a big legend in the wrestling industry, but who do you consider to be maybe one of the biggest legends in professional wrestling history to yourself?
Well, you'd have to put, everybody used to say Gorgeous George or or my dad, Johnny Valentine, or Buddy Rogers, the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, or Bruno Sammartino. But the biggest legend of all time in the sport right now, and The Rock is close, but he's a movie star, sort of, or a big-time movie star, I should say. He had the #1 box office this weekend, so, but The Rock still loves wrestling. But the guy, I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore, it's Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, we talked about a lot of legends, and it takes a certain set of characteristics to become a legend in the wrestling business. What are some of those characteristics that a legend must possess? Like, is it hard work? Is it just having a good body? What does it take to become a legend?
Well, as far as having a good body, there's not a whole lot of guys that have a body like the Ultimate Warrior or something like that. You got to have a good body for, not just for looks, you got to have a good body for being out and being able to go out there and go for an hour-long match if necessary, wrestle all the time, pull your bag through the airports, jump around from airport to city and wrestle, 7 nights a week, and then maybe get a couple nights off for years. And I wrestled for 40 years, but I wrestled the Major League of Wrestling for at least 30 years. Mm-hmm. So that's what it takes. It's like, you're around for a long, long time. And finally the people realize who you are. God, he must be good because he sustained this for so long of a time. Plus, we're talking about selling tickets. That makes you a legend. If you could go in there and I can wrestle Bill Goldberg and I can sell the place out, that's the whole thing. That's where your credibility comes along. Being a person that sold a lot of tickets. I sold Madison Square Garden out 18 different times over 10-year period. So that's what makes you a legend, and never giving up, you know?
Sure, yeah. Now, we live in a world of YouTube and the WWE Network, and, wrestling is everywhere and very easily accessible. Growing up, I had a lot of VHS tapes, or, it wasn't that easy to watch, what you guys did, but, you had to kind of collect a lot of videos. Now, with that said, what are your thoughts on getting to meet some of your fans who grew up from yesteryear, who have since grown up, had kids of their own, and now their kids are starting to find out who you are with, with the easy access to find you online, or, like I said, the WWE Network, to where, how does it feel for you that, kids, it's very accessible to see your body of work, if you will, to where you're legends, legends will never die pretty much, especially in the world we live in,
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a lot of fun to have, of course, you got your fans that they're in their 30s and 40 years old, but when their kids know who you are and they know you're on your game, or they've seen you on the YouTube, or they've seen you on DVDs or the WWE 24 Network, it's very flattering, and it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we just spoke about the WWE Network, and it's growing every day. They had a lot of shows on there, Legends of Wrestling, Legends House. They got great ratings. Do you think that you'll ever be a part of any of those shows?
I'm sorry, I missed what you said about the Legends House and what else?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like WWE Network's growing every day, and they have a lot of shows like the Legends of Wrestling, Legends House, and everybody seems to really love them. Do you think that you'll ever be a part of any of those shows?
I was originally going to do the Legend House, but they were they were handpicking the guys they wanted, and they asked me if I'd want to do it. I said sure, and I probably the next time they have one, or the next time after that, I'm sure I'll be considered, because I'm one of the Hall of Famers, and I know they're going to try to get as many different personalities in there as they can,
Yeah, definitely. We personally would love to see the Hammer on there, so maybe we'll have a little campaign going to get Greg the Hammer on the next the next show. Now,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you get to watch any wrestling these days? I mean, there's so much wrestling on this week. From Mondays to Wednesdays now. Every day of the week I think has a show of wrestling on. But what are some of your favorites to watch these days? If you watch, or what do you watch these days?
Well, I watched the product. I call it the product. I'm sorry. I watched the show, and I do the playback routine where I watch it, and if I see something bad, I just fast forward it through. But it's pretty entertaining. I don't like all the talking that they do. It's just kind of a different setup. I'm kind of used to that when they have Monday Night Raw and they talk for 30 minutes before they have the first wrestling match. But it's a different thing. I kind of wish I like the old school stuff where they used to have locker room interviews with Gene Okerlund. I thought they were funny, and I know the fans, and that's that kind of deal. But it's all different now. It's all about TV. It seems like TV here, 3 hours here, 2 hours where and 2 hours on Friday. It's just a lot of TV, and then a lot of pay-per-views. To me, it's too much television. But baseball's on every night of the week, but they do have a season where they're off too. So, so it's hard to say. I would like a little bit if they throw a little bit of old school knowledge back into these shows that they're producing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, you just mentioned that baseball and other sports seem to have like an off season. They have time off. Now, when you were wrestling, you were doing 80 days straight before you had a day off, and then sometimes you were wrestling twice on Sundays. You were wrestling holidays. Do you think that when you were wrestling that you guys would have done better if you had some sort of an off season, or do you think that it would? Did you enjoy just what you did back then? You didn't care how many days you worked.
I was such a consummate pro, not to toot my own horn, but my dad, Johnny Valentine, loved wrestling, and I loved wrestling, and there was really nothing else in life except for my wife that I loved and my kids. I mean, I loved wrestling. I didn't love all the trips and everything, but you get caught up in that whole, that whole thing, and doing it 30, 40 years like I did, it's hard to get it out of your blood. And that's why I'm going to enjoy being up at Citi Field. It's seeing everybody, and it's my whole life,
Yeah, definitely. We talked a little bit about media and stuff out there, but do you think it's about time we had a Greg the Hammer Valentine, special WWE DVD out by now?
I signed a contract for that 3 years ago, and nothing's happened yet. But then,
it's in the works.
The contract's not over yet, so I would say it's in the works. It's got to be. There's so much material. Yeah. I'm always on the 24, but yeah, I deserve my own DVD, and
definitely.
I hope they do it. I don't know. Hey, they give everybody else one. Should be able to give me one.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. Now, we spoke to you about Citi Field, but another event that we talked to you a little bit about whenever we had you on last, but it's New England Fan Fest, June 27th. You're going to be there with even more legends. You're going to be in Providence, Rhode Island. You're going to be taking part of the meet and greet. You're going to be all over there. Do you have any fond memories of Providence, Rhode Island?
Oh, yeah. That was one of the greatest arenas we have. It's called the Dunkin' Donut Arena now or something, but that's the same arena. We love going to Providence and Boston because there's such great crowds, such wrestling crowds. Plus the seafood was good, too. But that being said, they put me in the Hall of Fame there. It's a smaller Hall of Fame, nothing like WWF, but it was good, and Howard Finkel was up there. I saw a lot of the Gene Okerlund. I saw a lot of people that you don't normally see. It's another real good Legends Fan Fest, and yeah, that's going to be the end of this month. Yeah.
Sure. And now, Greg, we see a lot of different wrestlers today compared to when you were coming up in the business. But could you think of any of today's wrestlers that would have been able to cut it back when you broke into the business? Because I don't know. I think a lot of the guys are soft today, and that they're not they didn't really grow up in the time that you did, to where I don't think they could have handled what you guys went through growing up in the business. But all in all, do you think there's any guys today that maybe you think would have been perfect for a different era, maybe back of when you were coming through?
Well, just some of the guys, like Cena, of course, and Bob Orton's kid, what's his name? He's great.
Yep.
Randy Orton. There's a few guys that you can see that have that old school mentality, and they're just so natural. But they didn't come up the hard way like we did. That's why the guys that drew money had the it factor, like Piper, myself, Horned Up. We went on long trips. We bled, blood, sweat, and tears. We went all over the world. We were just dedicated to the wrestling. And there's no way that you can learn that in a school. There's no way that because I know a lot of these guys are manufactured cookie cutters coming out, and Vince is spitting them out there and throwing them in the ring. They have no idea about intensity. They have no idea how to make people mad or make them laugh. We could control. We were psychologists really in the ring.
Sure. But
we did it so much. We did it so much every day, 365 days a year. And that's why we were so good at it. And that's why that part will never be repeated, because that was like the first years of, rock and roll, and in the 60s and 70s and classic rock, and then you have the first years of real wrestling, and this high octane WrestleMania stuff and all that, where it really kicked in the jams. They'll never be able to repeat that. The only way they can repeat it is go backwards and start over.
Well, you just mentioned rock and roll, which kind of leads me right into our next question. You were part of a tag team, the Rock and Roll, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. You had Honky Tonk Man. You also had Jimmy, the Mouth of the South Heart. Now, that's something that I think, and I know Steve agrees with me, that we think's lacking in professional wrestling today is managers. Do you think that the WWE needs to get back to some of those things, like you're saying, from the 80s, like managers and maybe some of the backstage interviews and stuff like that?
Yeah, because, the guys that come out now, they all kind of, like one guy, Roland Reigns or whatever his name, and some other guy, these guys all got great bodies, are great athletes, but they all look the same. There's a few guys that look different, but you got to have personalities, different personalities, and the wrestling managers help bring that personality out, like Jimmy Hart, Captain Lou Albano. Oh my God, Freddie Blassie, the Grand Wizard. That was so much part of the business back in the days, and it was great. It's just added to the showbiz, but it wasn't. Once they put the guy in the ring, the showbiz was over. He went in and wrestled. Another thing that's lacking today is wrestling. They don't. I watched a match that I did with Bob Backlund years ago, and I just happened to throw in a DVD the other night, and I couldn't believe we wrestled 40 minutes, and we didn't even throw a punch. It was all wrestling holds, back and forth, back and forth. The fans would love to see a match like that.
Yeah, definitely.
With holds instead of running back and forth and jumping off the top. Who in the hell in a real wrestling fight or match or whatever you want to call it, if I get the guy laying out, why am I going to turn my back on him and go up the top rope and jump off on something? Why am I going to do that? In a real fight, I'm not going to leave him. I'm going to pin his ass right there.
That's it, guys. Wow.
So it's just logic. It's logic. It's got to be logical.
That's right.
So,
well, Greg, you said it, man. You said it. We appreciate talking to you. A true legend like yourself. Guys, come out and see Greg the Hammer Valentine this Sunday at Citi Field. Head on over to Mets.com/wrestling. Pick up your tickets. Greg, it's been a great time, and we can't wait to see you this Sunday.
All right, buddy. Thank you guys for having me on again. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Greg, we'll see you Sunday, and we'll see you in Rhode Island, all right?